Hey, I'd like to take a minute to talk about mysteries in role-playing games. Um, a lot of people try and run mysteries in role-playing games. They find it's kind of hard to do, but I really like them a lot, which is weird because I don't like mysteries as a genre of fiction, like in books or movies, because I typically complain either that the writer doesn't put the final clue in until after the main character reveals uh, his thought process to everybody. And they're like, oh, how'd you figure it out? Or either that, or the clues are so buried in other stories that you can't really tell, when the story is addressing the mystery and when it's addressing some other drama. Um, So you'll be reading this like really complicated relationship drama, and the story of the book is focused on it, and the mystery is just a plot device that keeps everybody involved in the story. And I find that by avoiding these things I don't like about the mysteries, and making sure my role playing games aren't like that, I really have the tools I need to run a good mystery in a game. So you need to be sure, first of all, that your players have all the clues, and they have to know what those clues are. There's a few ways of doing that. The easiest way is repetition. You make sure you repeat the clues 3 times. Not just telling them straight out, this is a clue, but making sure you drop the clue 3 times. That way your characters have a chance to actually see the pattern, and they can take a look at that pattern, and then they know how the clues are put together. They'll be able to use that pattern in the future to find more clues. The other thing you can do is just flag. So this is when you just straight out say what's a clue and what's not a clue. You can do this different ways. You can use the mechanics of the game, so they can make an investigation check, and you don't give them a clue, because you're just going to point out what in your descriptions that already happened is a clue. And you can be more or less precise about this, depending on how good the dice roll is and what the game system is. A lot of games, will have room for different levels of success. So you can give them different levels of information about, specificity about what is the clue. So using these two methods, you can avoid the problem of just rolling dice to see to get past the clue. A lot of games have tried to focus on investigation. They'll just give you the clue, or you'll just spend points to, follow up the side quest or something like a gumshoe. But I'm saying, you just give them the clue. So this method I'm talking about works in Dungeons and Dragons, even second edition D&D, where there's no skills. You can just have them roll an int check, and if they succeed, you tell them whether it's a clue or not, and then you keep the story moving. The other part of it is making sure the players have clues. You got to do some pre-planning as the GM, because you're not just making a mystery for the characters. You're making a mystery for the players. And because the players are the ones who has to figure it out, they don't want to have, they're not going to be rolling dice to see if they figure it out. They're actually going to be looking at the evidence and trying to figure it out. They're not really going to be engaging the mechanics of the game. They're going to be engaging the world and their surroundings. Now, the game might have mechanics, and that's how you engage with the world. That's how you engage with the surrounding. Different kind of mechanics. I'm not talking about X mechanics here. Because you can have rules. I really like Fate for this reason. So Fate has this thing called the Fate Fractal. And the idea behind a fate fractal is that you can represent anything as a character. It may not be a character, it may be some force or theme the game has. It may be an area. It may be an item. In this case, I'm going to say you could actually have the mystery itself be a character in Fate. So, the way you do this is you're giving the mystery aspects. So, this allows you to set up so players have an opportunity to use the system to find out what aspects the mystery has. And then the aspects will be clues. Then you can use these clues different ways, like if you want the mystery to be about figuring out who done what, that target character can have the aspects that the mystery has, the same aspects. So then they can just try and figure out who has the aspects that match with the aspects they discovered by, following clues and getting the pieces. So, when it comes to mysteries, there's really two kinds of mysteries. There's a mystery where the mystery is the focal point of the game, where your characters are detectives or investigators whose main motivation is to solve the mystery. Then there's the game where the mystery is taking a backdrop. The characters aren't detectives or investigators, they're just either normal people or they have some other agenda that they want to pursue. And the mystery is kind of taking a place in the backdrop because the characters aren't actively pursuing the mystery. The mystery is there to bring all the different plot elements together and provide a reason why these things happen. So when you get a game where the focus is on the mystery, it's going to be a lot different from the other kind, because you're going to have characters who are actively pursuing the leads and coming up with theories to test. And when you play it that way, the mystery's not going to last very long at all. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to succeed and solve the mystery. Many mysteries go unanswered. If you think about it, they'll get in some kind of dangerous situation, and when it comes down to it, you never really figure out who the murderer was, never figure out what happened to the Raven's Claw. They never understand why the character the mystery is built around does the things he does or where he comes from. So, like I recently played a Burning Wheel game where my players destroyed all the villain's notes. And, they burnt them. So all my mystery plans were ruined. That's fine. The players destroyed the potential for the mystery to be solved. That's their resolution of the mystery. And it's a good resolution of the story. And it can, that because it's still a really compelling mystery, a really compelling story. Like, you want to leave some mystery in the game when you're done with it. You don't want to sit down with the players and explain the reasons for everything that happened. You want them to leave the game with that sense of mystery still intact, which they may not do if they solve it. But, I guess that's part of the thing to remember. You can't have a mystery and just have one mystery. and have the entire game be about that. Because unless all the players have bought into that mystery, you're railroading them. Now, if you're doing it in an open campaign, you're going to be dropping mysteries left and right, all over the place. And you don't know how well the mysteries are going to interest the players. You're not going to know which mysteries interest the players, or even if any of the mysteries interest the players. You don't know what's going to drive them to react and follow up on the mystery. You're going to have to find out which mystery the game is about in play. So, just like every other story you tell the players, you're going to need several mysteries, and you shouldn't just keep taking one mystery and keep dropping plot hooks. Keep having things related to that mystery happen until they bite on it. You need to have multiple mysteries. And the reason for that is because, the mystery itself has to be compelling for it to work. And the way you as a GM are going to tell that a mystery is compelling is that they engage with it. They engage with it when they have other options of things to do in the game. And, the more they engage with something, the more opportunity you have to develop that idea in play. So, if they decide they want to get into romantic drama, or it turns into this big fight that you thought would be a side note, and the entire campaign becomes about that, that's great. Mystery is a fleeting thing, like anything else in a campaign. You just have to roll with it and be ready for the players to say no. But when the players say yes, and they keep the mystery either as something to come back to after the story arcs end, or if they just continually plot to pursue the mystery because they as players are invested in the answer, that's great. And you have to be ready for that. So, I've given some tips on how to GM a group that's focused on the story, the mystery. And like I said, it really comes down to being clear. You have to know at the beginning what the mystery is, because the mystery is really a puzzle that the players are trying to solve. You have to give the puzzle pieces to the players in a way that's appetizing to them. Because otherwise they'll be like, I know this information, but it doesn't feel like organic and part of the game. You need to learn how to give. You need to learn the players. You need to learn the group, and the best way to give them information that they'll be able to relate to it and engage with it, as their character would, or, as their, as the type of player that they are. So, sometimes you're going to try and dole out this little clues and little story arcs. And that's fine, as long as it doesn't become a scavenger hunt. If the players go somewhere and they investigate the mystery, they need to get a clue. It's either one of the clues that you've thought of, or one of the pieces of the puzzle to solve the mystery. So, when they go somewhere and they begin the investigation, the clues are a consequence of their actions, but also their actions need to be significant enough to have consequences of their own. They need to have that drama where the world pushes back on the characters. So you don't just, hand out, pieces of paper with the clues written on them just because they enter a room. But when the players take action to pursue the mystery. And that way you're not just raining out clues, strongly hinting that the players should go over there. No. The players need to be the one engaging with the game and telling the GM, yes, give us a clue, because that's what engaging with the game means. All right. So you have to give the players a solid lead to where the clue is. If you're not going to just give them the clue, you have to tell them where the clue is and what they have to do to get it. So this is really important. You can't just tell them, you saw so-and-so's character this night or that night. You have to make sure that it's something they can use to interrogate the world and find out, is this a thing that really happened? Am I deluding myself? Was I drugged? Was I hallucinating? Was it somebody else? So, good way, other player characters really don't work here. You need the world itself to be able to corroborate and continue giving you sensory data and logical data you can process to make, to verify the clue. So let's say you tell the players, they see so-and-so's character, but they're wearing a blue cloak. Now, you can have other characters verify it was a blue cloak. You could have them find strands of string, blue string, but also the players need to be able to interrogate the world about this blue cloak. So they might go and ask the NPC, do you have this blue cloak? But the NPC can lie. The world can't lie. So if they go and they look in the closet, they might find a blue cloak. Or they'll find evidence that there was another cloak in there. If you look at the dry cleaning records, you might find a note that says, yes, we cleaned a blue cloak on this day for like 10 pounds or whatever. That's good. That's a good clue. So, the other thing you may have noticed is that there needs to be multiple ways where they're getting this information, where they're interrogating the world. Because you're not interrogating individual characters. You're actually interrogating the world that you're all creating in your minds. You need to do this so that everyone has the same, mental image of the world. So this is one of the ways, as a GM, you also can use a mystery as an excuse to share details of the world in a way that feels natural, instead of just using exposition. So when you interrogate the world this way, and it gives you feedback, you know you're looking in the right direction. And compare that with like a scavenger hunt, where you find a clue, and it goes on a sheet somewhere, and it exists in this like abstract form of a clue, but you're not sure the importance of the clue, or the clue's place in the world, or even the clue's part in the mystery. Because I'll get to that. So let's talk a little bit about mystery as a puzzle. So when you're developing a puzzle, you can look at it. Look at this like a jigsaw puzzle. You're giving the players different pieces of the puzzle, and then they look at the piece of the puzzle and they figure out how they go together. So really, the question here is not just about having the pieces of the puzzle. You have the suspect and the murder weapon, but you're also going to give them the framework of the puzzle. And you can do this, directly outlined when you frame the game, or you can do this, through the game world itself. So you can get the players together and say, this mystery that we're playing, it has this structure. There's going to be a villain. You're going to have to find the murder weapon he used, and you're going to have to find the victim of the murder. Okay, so go. When you have those three pieces, the pieces will have enough depth that there'll be nothing left of the mystery. Okay. So the other thing you do is use the mechanics of the game to tell them this. So you can give them a note, and then they can use their investigation skills to determine how that note relates to other clues and to the mystery. So maybe they're using handwriting analysis to determine the personality of the character or the mood of the character when they wrote it. Maybe they're using some kind of alchemical skills to determine, unique circumstances that the paper was stored in. So, and you also are able to focus what of that description is a clue by using flagging. So there's plenty of room here for dice rolls, and dice rolls, are the way that your character's statistics come into play. But also, what clues the character have gathered is like a record of the character's interaction with the world. It's like, finding a +2 sword. This is proof that this world reacts to my actions and that there are consequences of my actions. I have this proof. So, that's great. But, yeah, that's because, not all the mechanics of the game are about dice rolls. There are also mechanics of the game to set the tone and set the structure and, what the consequences, what are reasonable consequences of an action. And this is going to vary from game to game. D&D, Shadowrun, Dogs in the Vineyard, I have different, consequences for taking an action. So in D&D, you walk into a room, you don't roll dice. There's a trap there, you sprung it. And the roll is, do I avoid the trap, not do I set the trap off. So you have the same thing here. If you get a clue and there's certain information that comes with that, you should just tell them. And that should be considered a rule of the game, because the players need to be able to understand what they can expect from the world. What am I trying to say here? So think of it this way. Imagine we're in a game that's using narrative logic. So, think of a story where the hero always wins, or a game with Chekhov's gun in it, where if you describe a gun now, it has to be used at some point. Maybe the heroes, maybe there's symbology in names, or animals appear, or jewelry has different meanings. It's like there's also the idea of character roles, where if there's a girl, the girl and the hero are going to hook up at some point. This kind of narrative logic can really interfere with building a mystery, because narrative logic itself can become a clue. It's part of the framework of the game. So it's part of the framework of the mystery. So we're going to have to make it explicit to players. You know, what kind of narrative logic can we expect? And sometimes it's going to be, we're going to just be trying, this is like a campy story. We're going to play on the tropes of the characters, and they're going to act in unrealistic ways, because that's the way people act in movies. Or we can get rid of all that and say, this is old style, there's no narrative rules, you're just interacting with the world, and the world can do anything. The world's going to be strange, it's going to be mysterious, it's going to be unpredictable. And you have to, give them some ideas of what to expect. Like, if you're actually going to have a mystery where, you subvert tropes, or you're going to have a mystery where it's just very dangerous to go into dark caves. You need to tell them this, because you need to set the expectations of the game and the genre. And this is part of the framework of a mystery. It needs to be right out there for them to see. So another thing about puzzles is, what kind of puzzle is it? Is it a puzzle where you have all the pieces laid out before you? Or is it about a puzzle where you're missing a piece? There's no final clue to solve the puzzle. In the first kind of puzzle, you're going to actually give the players the entire story. You're going to give them the entire mystery. You're going to give them. There's not going to be any guessing as to who done it or why. What the mystery is going to be is understanding the relationship between the clues. So this may be something you've already straight up told the players, but even when you describe the clues and you're giving them the context of the clues, there's still going to be room for the players to interpret that and to make a story, make their own narrative about what happened. And when that happens, there's not really a big resolution moment of the story. It's all just like trying to come to grips with the world. And I compare that with the other kind of mystery where there's a piece missing. And the kind of mystery where there's a piece missing is one of my favorite kind of mystery, but it's also, it takes longer to play out, and it focuses the game more on it being a mystery. So let's imagine we have a closed room mystery where we know who all the players are, and we can find out all the clues, and then you can even get the clue that tells you which one is a murderer, and you're trying to reconstruct in your mind. The act of reconstructing in your mind is like the communication and the world building that you as a GM have been trying to do all along. This is the making sure the mental model of the world that's in your mind has been transferred to the players. And that's kind of the whole point of role-playing in the first place. Now, let's see here. But let's say that we have a mystery where you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. So you have to guess what's the piece that is missing. And then the fun part of solving the mystery is different. Because instead of being let's just kill them all. One of them has to be guilty, or using trial and error and solving the mystery by just, grinding through it, grinding through all the possibilities until one of them comes up true. But when you're really missing a piece of the puzzle, at some point the players are going to have to guess what the solution to the puzzle is. And when they do that, we get to see the consequences of that guess. And this is really the whole payoff for doing the mystery. Because it's not about solving the puzzle. It's about what are the consequences of how you tried to solve the puzzle. So when they make the guess, this is the reason why I think that the players need to know whether or not they have all the clues before they make the guess. Because it's going to, it sucks to make a guess without all the information and be like, oh, but I thought I said this and you didn't understand. Oops, well, of course you couldn't figure it out. So your consequences aren't going to be fair, no matter what they are, because I never gave you all the pieces of the puzzle. But if you have all the pieces of the puzzle and there's just no more pieces, then the consequences, you accept them. And maybe it's not fair that you have to make the guess at all, but then the burden of, what happens to your character is on the GM, not on the players. And you're like, oh man, that bastard GM. I can't believe that she was a vampire all along. Oh man, it actually happened was pretty good. So, the GM needs to have some kind of system where he can check what the player's clues are, just by looking at it. And then he makes sure that they have all the clues. Because this really shouldn't be a complicated sheet. You maybe should have like 5 clues at the most that will answer the puzzle definitively. And it's not good enough to just understand what the mystery was. They have to actually have. There has to be a dramatic outcome. There has to be a dramatic consequence to their guess. And if your fail state is just, you just never know. That's not interesting. Okay? There should be a consequence to the players, the character, and to the world. And these are separate things. So you can't just take 5 hit points. No. There needs to be a consequence to the player too. And this is one of the reasons why, it's okay if they don't solve the mystery. And they need to know that's okay that they don't solve the mystery. Because that is necessary, for the players to have the right expectations of what kind of game we're playing here. Why are we keeping the number of clues small and the mystery solved small? Think of a really good puzzle game. You might think of Braid, or you might think of Tetris. Now what you're going to see is a game will use simple puzzles first before you move on to complicated puzzles, because they're going to teach you a way of solving a puzzle that you need to know to solve the puzzle later. We don't have time in a normal story arc to teach a player how to solve problems. So we're going to have to tell the story using the basic teaching puzzles themselves. So when you have a simple puzzle like this, then you also are having more room to uh, develop the world and develop the characters and develop the consequences of everything that's moving around in the game. So that's why we need to keep the puzzles simple. Like maybe only 5 clues are needed to solve the puzzle. So, because like a lot of times they won't solve a mystery, and that's fine. When they do, the consequences make dramatic, compelling events, then having a mystery as the central part of the game is totally fine. But a mystery is just bigger than them. The mystery is bigger than the detectives. It's bigger than the drama. With the mystery going on in the background, the mystery is just questions we have about the world. Like, it's the motivation people have to explore, to fill the questions we don't understand about the world with stories. Mystery is the motivation for science to invent, to experiment, to find out how the world works, because we're compelled by these mysteries. And the players are going to be compelled too, if you have a good story, just to find out what that story is. If you have interesting characters, you're going to be compelled to find out more about the characters, what the characters will do in different situations. And, you just get so much out of exploring mysteries. But it does require that the players be able to solve the puzzle. And I think it's because, so many GMs go looking at scavenger hunts when they think of a mystery that I think it's gotten such a bad reputation. And it's something hard to do in a role-playing game. You shouldn't even have to find all the pieces of the puzzle. You shouldn't not even know what the clues are or what the stakes are. These all need to be things that are either explained to the players or explained to the characters very well. So think of a horror movie, right? You're very rarely going to see the monster clearly in any detail, because the mystery is driving the players to imagine what could be there. And it's that imagination that is the motive force in so many stories and so many adventures. I mean, part of dungeon crawling. I mean, look at Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, what's the mystery here? Is the dungeon in the dragon? That doesn't make any sense, so the dragon has to be in the dungeon. How'd the dragon get in the dungeon? Right away you have mystery in the game. And many people, have tried to demonstrate that. Like, they've written up theories for dungeon ecology, or dragons roaming about the overworld, or where dragons like to roost, or all that stuff. So, but like in a game where you're actively trying to solve a mystery as a player, where you're trying to solve a puzzle, you've really just gotta bite into it. And then you treat it like any other plot the players are going to encounter. You just set up so the players can walk away from the mystery. The mystery is only going to be followed by the PCs so long as they find it compelling. And they're only going to find it compelling if they can actually make progress, have an idea of what the progress is, and that's what the idea is for making sure that players have all the clues and know the framework that the clues are going to be in. It's just all wrapped up in one big thing. So having said all that, I can try to address one of the questions asked on office hours. How do I make sure players are challenged the right amount by the mystery? And like I said, you make the mystery fair. You give them all the pieces. Make sure they know the framework the pieces are intended to fill. Tell the players that they have all the pieces. And tell them if they don't have the pieces and they're expected to guess what that last piece is. And at that point, the challenge stops being about, can we solve this puzzle? Because that's a question we can repeat in a role-playing game. Just laying out all the pieces of the puzzle. So it's not so much getting the pieces of the puzzle that should be challenging. It's not so much whether resolution should be challenging. The real challenge the players are going to feel comes from the secondary events you have in the game. Like, there should be some chance of bad things happening in order to get each clue. Win or lose, they're going to get the clue, but there's going to be consequences for getting the clue. And those consequences will depend on how much the characters succeed at whatever challenge is in front of them. It may not be a challenge directly related to solving the mystery, but that challenge is going to be there nonetheless. And then, at the end of the story, the challenge should be, once we've figured out the mystery, or once we figured out our answer to the mystery, how does the world respond to our answer? What challenge is unlocked by us putting, this key made out of the wax of the mystery to the mystery hole? Let's see what comes out. That's, what comes out is going to, if it's challenging, the players are going to be satisfied with the challenge of the mystery itself. So I hope that gives you some insight on how you can build a mystery, how you can make sure. So I hope that gives you some insight on how you can build a mystery and how you make sure that a mystery is challenging to your players. And I hope this video makes more people try to use mysteries in their games, because I really feel like mysteries are a compelling part of the world. Not just role-playing games, but the world itself. And if you're trying to create a world, or this world, or explore this world without finding a mystery or trying to solve a mystery, what's the point? What's the point of the world? I don't know. What's the point of me without a mystery? So, use mysteries in your games and have fun. Good night.